Living a life of purpose, there always has to be a beginning somewhere. And sometimes in life, we have our ups and downs, and sometimes we're all together as women and we've got it together, and sometimes we don't. My involvement with Trinity Church and Girlfriends is really a long time back, even the first encounters that Trinity had, and going to Orlando with a group of about 10 women. And out of that growth, you might say, Girlfriends came to be. Pastor Robin had a great vision. I've always loved Girlfriends. In fact, here at the Caring Place, we have wanted our women who come into our programs to actually be part of Girlfriends. I will tell you, in my own life, I was a businesswoman for many, many years. Considered myself a good mom, pretty much, and a great wife. But I will tell you that I had something that turned my world upside down, and that was the death of my first husband. Even loving Jesus, I wasn't emotionally completely strong. And I went into a very big tailspin, 2 years of depression. God brought me to a place of complete brokenness. And when you talk about a life of purpose, there has to be a point of surrender. First of all, I had to learn that God was my husband. In fact, He did give that to me in Isaiah 54:5. It says, "For your Maker is your husband. The Lord will call you back as if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit. For a brief moment I abandon you, but with deep compassion I will bring you back." And that's exactly what God did. But I had to learn to depend on Him, not a man. I remember sitting at the kitchen table and telling God, I surrender. But the problem here is that, God, you have the short end of the deal, because I'm actually surrendering nothing but my will, because you don't get anything else in this transaction. You don't get a strong woman. You have a basket case of a woman, and I do not feel that I have anything to give to you. I remember at the time having the impression that the Lord was saying to me, "Well, I'm so glad you understand that, Marilyn, because now you will know that everything that happens in your life from here on out is totally not you and all me." And God had to bring me through a process of just day by day listening to authority and obedience. That was the two things that God told me He had to train me on. Finding your purpose is always in Him. I no longer had self-esteem. I had to learn to have God-esteem and learn to listen to His voice. That's the real purpose-driven life, if you want to do it God's way. And I will tell you that as I was in the Pentecostal church, I began to learn what it was to have the joy of the Lord. And that didn't mean that I was happy all the time, because I learned that the joy of the Lord belonged to Him. I was only to operate in it. There's a really big difference, because I kept asking God, how do I be happy? And I never got a real good answer on that one. That was to operate in joy. And then I began to really work with in the church in different servant leadership ministries. And you know something, people a lot of times want to go into ministry and they want to be on stage and they want to be able to sing. And to be in ministry is to be able to do whatever the pastor needs, the church needs, the other servant leaders need, and just be available. And God kept telling me, be available, Marilyn. We're not looking for your ability anymore. We're looking for your availability. And so that's how I started to understand what ministry was all about. God did lead me to meet someone that was also in ministry, and that was Reverend Ronald Brummitt. And at the time, he was the director of the Miami Rescue Mission. We are now called the Caring Place, helping homeless men, women, and children throughout South Florida. It has been quite a journey. It's about impacting people for Jesus. And so when we have our drive-thrus and people come to get the food and the toys and the hygiene and all the things that we give them, there's a prayer tent. And that's the highlight of this ministry. It is souls. It's not just about feeding people. It's not just about clothing people. It is about taking that opportunity to introduce them to Jesus Christ so that they can know that He is their personal Savior. And we have a tagline here: no one is homeless, now and forever. If you don't have that home in heaven, what was it all for? And so I am so privileged. God has taken that little girl, I'm going to say, I wasn't a girl, I was a young woman at the time, sitting at the kitchen table saying, God, I have nothing to give you. He reminded me, one day He would remind me, I will let you know. I will bring you through, and I will put you where I need to put you. But you have to trust me. Well, one of the exciting things about the Caring Place is that in 2022, we got to celebrate 100 years. Now, we haven't been here 100 years, but the ministry has been here 100 years. And so we had a whole year of celebrating 100 years of God's footprint in Miami and Broward counties. You also can't get to a platitude and say, okay, well, we hit this milestone. No, God always has another milestone. We have a 5-acre property in Miami Gardens, and that's the vision right now, is to have a center not only where women and children and families can come and learn to be strong and have a biblical foundation, but also have safe and affordable housing. Another exciting thing that happened this last year is that we was able to come out with a book called The Miracle Mission, the history of the mission, my husband's life-changing story, other graduate stories, even donor stories, and actually my stories in there as well. And so that's exciting to think that's actually in print. And we are praying that it is going to influence people to never give up. There's always a miracle coming. The vision is great. It's far beyond me. It's far beyond my husband. But you know, it's not far beyond God. I love the Wilkersons so much. You know, sometimes we borrow from each other's ideas. I will say that you have another little Girlfriends that came out of Girlfriends, and that's Girlfriends for Girlfriends. And it's grown to be quite an amazing group of women. We love you, and we are praying the best is yet to come for Girlfriends and for Trinity Church. My mission, my purpose.